Welcome to Keep It Humane, the podcast, where we dive deep into topics surrounding kindness, compassion, and creating a more humane world, whether it's in our communities, in the workplace, or in the world of animal control and shelters. With our hosts,
Ashlee Bishop.
And Ashlee Bishop.
And I'm Daniel Ettinger. This show is sponsored by Tomahawk Live Trap. Check them out, livetrap.com.
Well, hello, Ashlee.
Hello, Ashlee.
It's the Ashlee and Ashlee show again.
You left us alone.
I can't decide if he's a glutton for punishment or
Did you listen to last week's episode? Oh, wait, that didn't come out yet. Never mind. We're ahead.
Oh, yes. No, I didn't, because I was like, the last episode that dropped was my episode.
Yeah,
that we're going to continue.
Yeah, we're a week ahead, folks, which is a good thing. But yeah.
Means fewer gaps in the chain. Like if something happens. Like
I will say Dan's been very busy with hosts. I will say. I don't he just knows too many people. I'm not cool enough to be
right
that cool.
Like he's always said to me, he's like, oh, do you got anybody you want to get on? And I'm like, I know the people you know because you've introduced me. And that's where we're at, Dan. So but I want to say, so we put out a post about ACO week, and holy shitballs, people. I am so proud of you as our listeners. You are coming through this year like crazy. ACO week is April 6th through the 13th.
The 13th through the 19th.
Okay, 13th through the 19th. I had one of the dates right. We have already got like 50 people nominated. So, with that being said, we might have to close down our nominations a little earlier than planned. So if you want to get in on, recognizing your fellow ACOs when, we don't get the recognition that we all deserve, connect with us on the Keep It Humane Facebook page, our Instagram, YouTube, tickety-tockety if you're doing it.
The link is there. The link is keepithumane.com/ACO week. So take a look at that. Deadline has been moved up because of so many participants.
Which is amazing.
Yeah, shouts to Dan for thinking of this. I think it's going to be awesome. Yeah. I think, well, that week is going to be Vegas week, so I'm not going to even be able to help participate back home because I'll be in Vegas.
I mean, we appreciate you. You get a vacation.
Well, shouts out to our sponsor of the podcast, Tomahawk. We want to say they're awesome. And if you don't know who Tomahawk Live Trap is, make sure that you go check them out. It's their 100th year in business here in 2025. They're a family-owned and operated business who work with humane professionals around the world to produce the safest and most effective animal handling equipment available. You can save 10% on their products by using the discount code Keep It Humane. That's Keep It Humane. All uppercase letters with no spacing, and you can visit them online at livetrap.com. Shouts out to Tomahawk.
Yes. I will actually be at Texas Unites with Tomahawk Live Trap. So any of our listeners that are going to be there, come say hi to me and to Kyle, because he will set you up with all of your animal control needs.
So. I think this year we're gonna have to update some of our stuff. We got some traps from the Stone Ages, as most agencies probably do, because guess what? They work forever,
right? So. They, as long as they last, you get the powder coating on them so that they don't rust. And there's a new one out that has the ability to be a support or emotional support trap where you can punch it to open it. And it's great for those days when you're dealing with this public that just doesn't want to listen. So keep that in mind.
Shouts out Tomahawk, lifetrap.com. Make sure you go check them out. So how's it going? Is the weather as crazy in
Oh my
Wisconsin
God.
as it is here in Texas?
It is stupid. Literally 2 days ago, I had all the windows open and my furnace turned off, and it was 70 degrees outside. And I just had to go chase my dog outside, and it's 22 degrees, but the real feel is 9 and snowing.
No thanks.
So,
Mm-mm. We had like golf ball size hell in our area last night. No, the night before. And my husband texted me and he's like, "Hey, I'm just checking in that you're all right." And I woke up at like 8 and I was like, "What are you talking about?" Luckily it didn't hit our area, but some of the areas like in the south town of us, which were sister cities, got hit pretty hard. I mean,
ugh,
there's some pretty big, like even some bigger than golf ball size. Like it's just our area is so weird. We get like the weirdest weather. But yeah, up here it's been crazy. Like it was 91 degrees yesterday and now it's like 45 this morning. I can't with the whiplash, guys. I say it
yeah.
all the time and I'm sure y'all are tired of hearing me say it, but Jesus Christ, like I can't do this anymore.
Right? Oh, well, and there's still wildfires going, and
That too. The wind was crazy the other day. One of the local towns, it's like a really cute little town. Shouts out Fredericksburg, Texas. If you've ever been, it's like apparently on fire and they haven't been able to contain anything over there. And I'm like, there's a lot of vineyards. Like that's our vineyard area of
oh,
the state. So it's been nuts. Weather's been nuts. Accidents have been nuts. There was a huge like 17 car pile up in Austin either this week or last week. Amazon driver was drunk and like took out 17 cars and killed like 5 people and
good grief.
it's it's been it's been crazy. It's been
Yeah,
crazy, y'all. The world is nuts.
I'm over 2025. I'm finally starting to somewhat be physically better and not sick for the first time in 2025. So, yeah, I'm over it. But
Same.
you know what else I'm over? Bullshit at my freaking city. Um, so for those of you that didn't listen to our episode that dropped just a couple days ago at the time of this recording, which means that it dropped on the 11th, we started the conversation about my employment with my city um, as the first and only humane officer. Um,
That's wild to say out loud.
yeah.
It's crazy.
Um, and we kind of ended that with leading up to they told me that they were going to terminate my position, and that's kind of where it's sat. So I'm thinking we just kind of go through the continued timeline of like what the next couple of months looked like after that meeting in May when I was told that I couldn't or that I wouldn't have a job come October.
And that's probably about the time I had jumped on, like
Yeah,
when shit was starting to get really ridiculous.
yeah. Um, and I was sharing like Ashley and Dan were both watching the meetings live while I was at the meetings. And like we are feverishly texting each other, going, "What the fuck did that person just say? What are they talking about? Do they even have a clue? Like, what is going on?" And again, all of this is public record. Anybody that actually has any interest, you can go to the City of Wausau's YouTube page and find all of the meetings that we're going to talk about. Um, but the first meeting, so I was told on, I believe it was May 20th or thereabouts, that it was a Monday. It was the Monday I came back from Texas after being at the HSUS conference. And I got pulled into the office and at 10 o'clock in the morning was told that I could go home for the day if I wanted to because as of October 26th, I would no longer have a job. And so I did take that time and I did go home and I got to thinking about it and I was like, pretty sure they had to have told me because they knew, like, there had to have been a meeting. And I looked, and sure enough, they had a public health and safety meeting, and it was on the agenda to speak about the program and give a proposal. So I did some quick work of calling a couple different agencies and getting some details and contacting various people. The former executive director of our local humane society is the one that hired me when I was 16. She allowed me to come in and volunteer at the age of 13. She's been a huge supporter of me forever, and I wouldn't have been ever in the position I was in had it not been for her taking me under her wing. And so I had contacted her, and she immediately was like, "No, I'm going to that meeting with you." And Judy went with me. And just listening to the things that they were talking about the budget and how because we lost the contract, we were $17,000 short of being able to pay me for the whole year. $17,000 of an entire city. Um, some of the arguments, and I might have a few of these details mixed up with various meetings because I went to all of the meetings and I was there to advocate for myself and for the community.
And for the industry. Let's
Yes.
get that straight. And I feel like those in your city took it as more of an attack, but I don't, and I still don't think that they realize at this point what the industry is to every city. And we're seeing so many problems, a few episodes back when we talked to Kara over at Who Let the Dogs Out about, all of these rural communities or small communities that don't have animal control or animal sheltering or anything of the sort, and how they're really suffering and that the problem's getting much worse. And I just feel like they're completely clueless
Mhm.
about that in general.
Well, and like one of their arguments was that they wanted a, and I quote, robust program, and the program was not robust enough for them. As
Because one person can make it robust, right?
right, right. Their complaint was that I only was handling 40% of the animal calls in a 40-hour week period of time. So please tell me how one person is supposed to handle 100% of the calls when I am not on call. They made it very clear from the beginning that I was like working overtime was a big no-no. I was told that I needed to flex my hours so that I was not working more than 40 hours a week. I was never allowed to work a holiday. Um, so in that sense, I mean, yeah, I have it cushy compared to everybody else, but like you can't expect me to handle everything. But then the flip side to that, that nobody documented, because I don't know that there would have been a way to actually record this, was that they weren't taking into consideration that, yes, maybe officers were handling the initial calls. I was doing all of the follow-up. The cases got turned over to me and I was completing them. I was finishing up, making phone calls, you know, oh, okay, great. The officer took the animal to the shelter because the owner went to jail. Great. Guess who was going to the jail the next day to get the animal signed over? Who was making the arrangements with the other family members? And that was one thing too that like I had no way of proving to them how much money I actually saved them because I would work diligently on our contract with the Humane Society. We paid per day for animals that were in the shelter held for cause.
Oh God.
And for a 5-day period, one animal would cost us, if the animal got surrendered to the shelter, it would cost the city about, I think it was $320 thereabouts for 5 days. Okay. But if I got that shortened down to fewer than 5 days, I was saving the city money. I know of many times I'd go on vacation, I'd come back and be like, why is this animal sitting at the shelter for 8 days? We are paying for all 8 days, and nobody was doing follow-up on it. But how do you prove a negative?
Yeah.
Um, and so they made this proposal. They apparently did their research, according to them, which none of their research included talking to me. I have connections across the country, but I also have connections within our state, right? Because we talk about it all the time on the episode, the show, about how every area kind of has their own things going on, right? They never asked me for my input. And they came up with this plan to terminate me as a full-time humane officer. And then they were going to hire 3 community service officer 2 positions, which were going to be dedicated animal control positions, but only working 20 hours a week. So no benefits or anything like that.
I just when we look back and I look back at, where they're talking about all this, it was just like they were trying to replace a negative with a negative. Like I just don't understand how a 20-hour a week CSO is going to cover the amount of time that a full-time person would do, regardless if they think that they're doing their job or not. But then on top of that, it was, well, this person's not, they're only taking 40% of the calls and PD's taking the blunt of it, but then she also needs to concentrate on licensing.
Oh my God, the licensing.
I mean, how are you supposed to do your job if you're supposed to go around and, you know, I'm not going to speak for everybody, but I would assume that most areas, licensing is probably the last thing we think about when we're out in the field doing this, that, or the other.
Yep.
It's just the truth.
And I don't remember if we talked about this or not, but like national average is 15 to 20% compliance rate. The city had a 30% compliance rate because of programs that I implemented. But here's the other thing, like the reality is that to some degree, if I cited somebody, which our bond amount for that citation was astronomical. $187 citation because you didn't pay your $12 license. I'm sorry, but what? And a lot of this came down to, we had other community service officers that during the summertime would help me because that was my busy time. I literally could be on one call and have 3 calls stacked up behind me. And the community service officers would get told, like, hey, you're going to work with Ashlee, you're going to work on licensing. I was not allowed to be a supervisor of them, but I was to be guiding them, but I had no authority. And nobody else was actually stepping up as far as command or anything to actually ensure that they were doing what they were supposed to do. So I was on FMLA for my injury, told specifically I could not do anything pertaining to my job. I could have been doing licensing checks from my desk. I could have been calling families and saying, hey, get your animals licensed. I could have been doing that. They refused to let me after repeatedly asking. I suggested, hey, send the CSOs out, get their driver's license, and I will write the citations. I will mail the citations. That way I am the one going to court on these citations if it gets that far. But we could have worked on that. I actually did an open records request of how many citations in the year 2023 were issued for animal related offenses versus 2024. 2024, I was pretty much out for the majority of the year due to my work-related injury. Again, we talked about that injury at last episode. Um, there was I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but it was like 100 and I want to say 109 citations for 2023 versus 60 for 2024 when I was not working. Now, that's not including written warnings or anything else, for compliance. I just asked for the citation numbers. So, with all of these CSOs that were supposed to have been working for 2024 and doing all these licensing, when I got back on the road, I was following up with the houses that the CSOs were supposed to have gone to. They were supposed to write citations immediately, and they didn't. And they told the people, oh, I'll be back next week, have your licensing done. And then they never followed up. Nobody was holding them accountable for this, but it became my issue. It was my fault, according to the city. And so one of the city council members actually explicitly said that the program was supposed to be paid for by animal licensing and citations. That
Right
is
there,
so
yeah, right there.
unethical.
It is like right there. It just tells you, they have no clue on. And that was the most frustrating part about it is, again, we're in the 21st century, folks. We're in an era of we're no longer the dog catcher, we're no longer the dog pounds, and there are still people in this mindset thinking that we need to go out and punish people so that we can pay for our jobs.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to get anywhere with that mentality. We haven't
No,
gotten anywhere with that mentality. That's how it's been since the beginning of time, and that it's not something that's going to work.
no. Our in the interesting thing is like we're supposed to have a community policing mentality in my city. So I don't know how that works. Like you should be working towards compliance without having to immediately have a citation or, again, it I looked at it a lot of times for the licensing, like, okay, do I want to force them to pay the $187 or do I want to give them time where they can actually afford the $12 to $62 fee for licensing?
And beyond that, like it's also past like the public health and safety thing. Like, do I want them to have enough money to have this animal rabies vaccinated? Because God
Right.
forbid, I don't know what y'all's rabies numbers are out there, but like for us, we're in a high traffic area for positive skunks and bats. Like
Mhm.
that's just our area. Like, do we want to have to go through the whole thing of, you know, making these people pay the citation or go get a freaking $10 rabies vaccine?
Right. Exactly. Um, and the other thing, like I brought up regularly at these meetings, because again, I got up and I spoke and I had people speaking on my behalf. I reached out to the Animal Legal Defense Fund. Huh, 38-page paper they put together and sent it to the city council. And
Shouts out
it's
to ALDF.
yes, oh my God, they were phenomenal. I reached out to HSUS, I reached out to ASPCA, like I had people all over that I reached out to about this. Um, but the ALDF, like they said, 5 of those pages were grants that could have been applied for just for that $17,000 that they were complaining about. Um, and so like they didn't want to listen. This was very much targeted, I believe, because I took my job very seriously. And I talked about, the link. I'm very passionate about the link. The number of times that I was involved with situations and I got Child Protective Services or the women's community and things like that involved in my cases, because we all know that that's a huge part of what we do. And I try, sorry, I tried to get the city to see the importance in that. Um, I had several felony cases. You know, I'm sitting here in February, haven't worked there for several months, and I get a subpoena for a case that I was involved in that they rescheduled specifically before because they could not prosecute that case without me there because I had such a large part in it. And I'm not trying, this is not a me personally doing such a good job. It is the need and necessity for the position. A lot of times I would get people that would be like, "Oh, hey, well, the officer said this, and but you're telling me this." And I would say to them with the absolute utmost respect, and I had every officer that I actually said this to back me up on this. I said, they have more important things to worry about than knowing and understanding the laws pertaining to animals. I said, I want them dedicated to the people side of things while I can be dedicated to animals. And I said that during one of the meetings, um, to which I got pulled into the office later on and told that that was offensive to officers when because I was basically saying in his mind, in the captain's mind, that they weren't capable. And I said, that's not what I said. And I've had many officers agree that they have more important things to know and deal with than the animals and why we needed a dedicated animal person.
Well, especially if you already have somebody on, like for us, we work very closely with our PD department, but at the same time, there's no need for them to be out there taking our calls when I have an officer running 7 days a week.
Right.
Like, yes, they're there for support because I mean, we all know that we got people out there that we need to call PD for backup and they're happily help us with those things. Or if we need their help on anything, they'll gladly be there. But, I don't disagree at all. There's a reason why animal control was invented.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Because that's
Um,
like having firefighters also try to do animal control while they're doing 24/48s. I mean, what kind of sense does that make? Like,
right. Right. Like I even showed up to fire calls because if there was an animal on scene, I had my vet tech degree. I have the ability to help get that animal stabilized till we can get it to the vet or run it to the vet myself. I would show up to the fire calls as well. Um, so it was ridiculous. And then started the bullshit where the city, my husband also works for the city, and they tried to fire him when they realized I was not going to sit down and just take this quietly.
mm.
Um, because he was in uniform. He recognizes he did wrong. He was in uniform, off duty, but he
I
might have
forgot about this.
flipped the bird at the city council members on the first day. Like, we literally had 7 hours prior to realizing that I was losing my job. So it is fresh in our minds. We are very agitated, and he may have raised the middle finger. at the meeting. It took them, I believe it was 4 weeks, and a second meeting when I stood up to speak before they even addressed it with him that he was in the wrong. And I truly feel that it was oh, Ashlee's not going to sit down and shut up. We're going to find a different way for her to be quiet about this. Um, but they did. They threatened to fire him over raising his middle finger, when we know that other people in his position have outwardly swore at people while on duty in uniform. Um, so it felt very targeted, this whole thing. And there were two different instances where I was pulled in for internal investigations. I don't know that I want to get into too much detail on that yet. So we may have to have a third episode, because I am pulling some open records um, that I still haven't gotten. It has been 50 days, 50 business days. Um, but that's kind of the saga. Um, they
I think,
complained.
go ahead, sweetie.
I was just gonna say, like, they made comments during the meetings that they haven't had a humane officer for a year, because of my work-related injury that the insurance deemed was not work-related. Um, and that was their basis for not wanting to find the $17,000 that, oh, by the way, after my termination, so my last day working was September 21st, I believe. Um, and then I was on administrative leave until October 26th. And in October, at the finance committee meeting, the police chief went to the meeting and said, hey, you want us to cut budget? Let's scrap the idea of having the three CSOs. Let's not do that at all. We'll just have our officers 100% take on the animal related calls. And the finance director said, but why do we need to do that? We have $185,000 surplus in the animal control fund. $185,000 surplus. Why, where, what, versus 17,000? That's like what, a 12th? Make it make sense. Somebody, please, somewhere.
As we end this episode, folks, don't don't give up hope if you're having struggles with your cities, but make sure that you're also coming in with the facts of what you do on a daily basis, and reach out for help. Reach out to, ALDF or
Mhm.
any of the large organizations that do field work, ASPCA. I just this whole situation was just infuriating to watch, and how unprofessional some of the people during these meetings were, and kind of the backhanded comments that shouldn't have been made by these elected officials, by the
Mhm.
way. Um, I just, the disrespect to our industry overall, beyond it going towards Ashlee, was just disheartening and disgusting. Um, they obviously have no clue what the industry does or what we do and what our purpose is. And unfortunately, this is the story for many cities, many counties, many states that just don't give a damn.
Mhm.
And they don't give a damn until you become the social media storm. because we all know what happens. Um, it's all it's going to take is for that one slip up,
Mm-hmm.
and those advocates will be on your ass like, whoo.
Yep. And I can tell you this, I'm working on getting some of the records yet, but they've had slip ups already. And for any of our listeners that are going through, even if it's a fraction of something similar to what my situation is, reach out. I am more than happy to commiserate with you, to talk it out, to help you find resources to fight. Um, Obviously, I lost the battle, um, but I will absolutely stand by you and help you out through whatever it is you're dealing with.
Well,
And you,
folks, we
oh,
we we may or may not continue this saga depending on what comes.
yeah.
But, shouts out to all of you who are one-man teams who are fighting the good fight, in cities or counties that don't respect our profession and what we bring to the table. If you reach out, if you need anything,
Mm-hmm.
reach out. Ashlee and Dan have been doing this for a hot minute. Reach out, I can tell you about the budget side of things, and I can tell you a lot of times there's always money, folks.
Mm-hmm. It can be found somewhere.
It can definitely be found somewhere.
But you guys can always reach out to us, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. I don't know who actually watches our TikTok, but reach out to us if you need anything, you need help. Again, just to talk. Um, I got to say this has been quite cathartic just being able to talk about it here on the show. So, um, but other than that, anything else you want to add before we wrap it up?
Nope. Other than get ready for Appreciation Week, folks. Make
Yes.
sure if your agencies are not appreciating you, know that we appreciate you. And for all that you do, we know this job is super thankless. None of us get into this to be the heroes of anything. We do this to help people, help animals. Um, so just make sure, because I've seen a lot of comments, whether it's on Keep It Humane or if you haven't done so, make sure you join the smart private group. A lot of people just saying, well, it's telecommunicator week and this, that, or the other. And I feel ya. I feel ya. My
Mm-hmm.
husband is a dispatcher, and I can't tell you how much stuff they get on that week, but just make sure, keep up the good fight, y'all.
Yeah.
Keep up the good fight. And, you know, we're here for a reason, and there's a lot of us doing this um without any thanks or without any recognition because we love what we do.
Yeah. And, as cliche as it is, we're here to speak for the voiceless,
Mhm.
um, which means, sometimes we're equally unheard. Um, but the only way that we're gonna get our voices heard and be able to move forward in our society is by continuing to fight and get loud. So, um, but other than that, follow us, like us, share us, rate us, download us, do all the things, and keep helping people.
Help animals.
Keep it humane.
Keep it humane.